This is The Path to Growth, a channel-focused podcast where we talk to the brightest minds in tech about how they scale smarter, build stronger, and find new paths to growth. Today, we explore how AI, cloud, and cybersecurity are reshaping infrastructure, and of course, what this means for partners like you who are trying to scale their businesses. CEO of Pax8, Scott Chasin, is joining us to help you develop a strategy. He and Pax8 have a bold vision for how the partner ecosystem should evolve. Scott, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Matt. It's good to be here.
It's good to see you. I will say, for a man who's just spent a few days with over 3,000 of your closest friends and Snoop Dogg, you look remarkably well.
It definitely took me a couple of days to recover.
Yeah, yeah, I bet. I heard it was a great event. So let's start there. Talk to me a little bit about the kind of energy you got from the community there, and what are some of the key takeaways, the highlights that you'd like to share?
Yeah. I mean, first I'll just say this was our junior year, our third year in hosting Beyond. And, I think we get better every year. We certainly learn from the previous years and apply that moving forward. Beyond is about three things. It's about community, it's about education, and it's about innovation. And I would say, in terms of the community aspect, a fantastic turnout. Almost 4,000 people were at the show. I think I posted this not too long ago. The largest MSP event on the planet now, in terms of number of managed service providers that were there by headcount. So fantastic, community that arrived, and that's a big part of the energy, Matt. The education, I think, was phenomenal this year. Our enablement capabilities around Pax8 Academy was just amazing. The breakout sessions in a lot of cases were just standing room only, packed. And then lastly, the innovation. And, there were more than one keynote that I think delivered some pretty powerful outlook on where things are headed. And of course, just the innovation keynote and what Pax8 is doing for our partners within our marketplace. So I would say the energy was just off the charts, full of networking, full of opportunity for those that attended. And of course, the entertainment, Snoop Dogg, the Spasmatics, as usual. Fantastic entertainment night.
Yeah, and I can imagine having spent time with you and the team before, everybody in bed by 11 o'clock every night, I would think.
Yeah, you know us well, Matt.
Yeah. It's just a question of what time zone I'm on when I'm selling at 11 o'clock. So I know, because obviously we, as the channel company, we had a lot of people there, and we helped produce the event with you. I know it's got an enormous amount of energy, right? I'm curious how, as you as the leader and Pax8, how do you keep that kind of momentum, that sense of energy and community alive, around the event, post event?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of a responsibility that we have. I mean, as I would say the technology marketplace of the future, which is certainly what we are, what we're building. It's our responsibility, I think, to bring the future forward, to be able to show our partners the what's next. And as a part of that, there is this energy that surfaces. There's been a desire by this community to really, figure out that what's next. And, this year was quite powerful in terms of talking about AI and the agentic inflection point. But to do so in the context of, everyday partner, concerns and business scaling, and it's just how can we relate the future? How do we how do we really, push forward a message and a vision that um, every partner can see. And so I think it's a big part of it was just in the content. Now, obviously, the theater I think plays a role there as well. We're very also design forward, and we like to create the atmosphere so that the community can thrive, the networking can be amplified. And again, I think that it's all about the people that showed up, and the opportunity for them to participate in that incredible atmosphere that is Beyond.
Yeah, I've always said leaders behave like leaders. And so I want to take that and just pivot now and talk about something you also just mentioned, Scott, which is the agentic future. Right now, if you cast your mind back a few months, I bumped into you in a bar in Tampa, and we got talking about Gen AI, and then you blew my mind talking about agentic AI. And then obviously you around your PAX 8 Beyond event, you actually put out a pretty significant report. And I just want to set this up because I actually found this really fascinating. I did read the report and I found it really fascinating. So the steam engine, electricity, computing in the internet all redefined the boundaries of human productivity and economics. Right, those are the words that are in your report, and you just said it yourself. We're now at an historic juncture, this AI agentic inflection point. And then you coined a whole new term, which I think is fantastic. Right, and this is where I'm going with leaders behave like leaders. You talked about the idea of MSPs evolving from managed service providers into managed intelligence providers. From your perspective, as one of the companies that's right on the cutting edge of this and is leading this community into this era, this forward-facing future, tell me what that looks like.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of surface area here, but let me just start by level setting around what is the acceleration of all things AI. And when I say acceleration, I'm really referring to the exponential that we're currently witnessing. And it really comes down to, three things. The first are the models. And these AI models continue to advance. They get smarter. They're reasoning now, chain of thought. And, you're just seeing this this growth, call it 3 to 5x improvement annually from these models, and they just keep getting better and better. The second exponential are the chips. The hardware that's powering these models continues to advance. It continues to, what I think, really challenges, Moore's law in a lot of ways. Yeah. Look at what NVIDIA has done. Yeah. The H200 in of itself, in under a year, they outperformed by, I think, 70-80% from the H100. So these chips are just becoming more and more powerful. And then, of course, the networking that, creates these massive GPU clusters is also off the charts, and NVIDIA's had a leading role in that as well. And then lastly, you have the data centers. You've got over $1 trillion of, committed investment from the hyperscalers and others to build out these massive data centers. And so, when you look at all three of those exponential trends, they're really compounding, and it's not, as simple as 2, 4, 6, 8, you're seeing a much more compounding acceleration, where, it's going to be vertical here pretty soon. And so you look at that acceleration, and you also look at the ceiling, or, is there going to be, some kind of AI winter out there where we just hit a wall? And I don't see it.
Yeah.
I just see, continued, shifts in paradigms and strategies that just continuously improve each of those exponentials. And so when you look at all of that, um, I think it's pretty easy to see where it's going. And I think it's really easy to say that AI is, as dumb as it will ever be today.
Yeah.
And so looking at that, which we've spent a lot of time looking at it, and you look at the kind of the business model behind software, it's going to change pretty dramatically. And so what we're essentially witnessing is the SaaS tier collapse into the AI tier, where all of the SaaS business logic is going to be represented by these agents. And so if you look at the exponential, and then you look at how the AI tier is moving into the infrastructure and disrupting the software layer, um, yeah, I mean, it's not hard to connect the dots to see where all of this is headed.
Yeah.
And I think that's the exciting part. And I think we delivered that message in our report, as well as at Beyond.
The report was outstanding. I did get to watch the keynote as well, which was also really strong. Help the audience understand, Scott, just the difference between agentic AI versus Gen AI, please.
Sure. Yeah. I like to characterize this as a progression, and let's just call it, a progression framework that consists of 4 layers. And let's start with the first layer. And I would characterize this as your basic chatbot. Chatbots are everywhere today. Obviously, ChatGPT, which, believe it or not, Matt, is what, 3 years old, is now one of the most used, apps in the world. Um, Generative AI, in terms of, summarizing email or writing a first draft, or even now with multimodal models, producing just incredible video and imagery. All of that is accessed via chatbot, right? So that's the basic level one. However, we've now crossed over into a new arena where chatbots and these models in particular can reason, and they're using chain of thought to reason. And what that means is that they can now plan,
Yeah.
and they can reason, and they can act. And so now we're moving into level 2, which is assistance, right? Where you can actually say, hey, go research this particular topic and come back with, an in-depth, report for me. It is so powerful to see what happens when you add the planning and the reasoning on top of these chatbots, and that's the assistance. And now we're advancing even further. We're moving into an era of digital labor, where it's not just about reasoning and planning, it's about taking action. And you're starting to see the software infrastructure come online to support this next level of progression. And I'll talk more about that in a minute, but a lot of enablement in terms of these agents, which you can think of as digital labor, so that they can more autonomously go out and complete tasks without the need of any kind of human guidance. And then where I think it's all headed, and where ultimately we will arrive, is the level 4, which is what I will just say as, you know, I'll call it the digital workforce, where now you have, swarms of these, agents that collaborate or orchestrated to complete not just a single task, but maybe hundreds, if not thousands of tasks, operating together as a single unit or a single business.
Yeah.
So it gets quite exciting once we get there, and certainly we've got some evolution to go yet before we're there. But this this progression is happening in real time now, and we're starting to see not just the exponential in terms of the models, the chips, and the data centers, but also the software infrastructure, which is going to enable these agents to collaborate and to really take action and simply put, have access to the world's software solution
Yeah.
toolbox.
I mean, thank you for that, by the way, and it is fascinating. I did actually read recently that I think before we get to 2030, you will have, you just touched on it, business units that are entirely agentic AI, right? So they will build a business, they'll run the business, they'll do the sales and marketing, they'll do the invoicing, they'll do the product development, the product delivery. I mean, it's it's unbelievable. So let's just stay on this, and then I want to pivot and talk a little bit more about how Pax8 is enabling this phase. We're from the MSP's perspective, and this was sort of woven throughout your report. It's about now moving from delivering value through devices, right? And it's now about delivering value through outcomes. And really what you're saying, Scott, is this is almost becoming orchestrators of AI agents on behalf of their customers.
Yeah, I mean, I like to look at it in terms of an evolution story. And so when you go back to, and let's just call this MSP 1.0, and I think we all know those break fix days where it was simply about remote support and fixed fees and how fast can you put out the fires.
Yeah.
Then MSP 2.0 arrived, which Pax8 was there from the beginning. Managed services were born, recurring revenue, a strong subscription model, and this is largely where we're at today. I think that what's happened through the course of 1.0 and 2.0 is that managed service providers have become trusted advisors to their customers, right? In really advising them, in all things technology, within the infrastructure, within the cloud. And I think that they are poised to really jump into the next iteration, which we're not calling MSP 3.0, we're calling the era of managed intelligence.
Yeah.
And I say they're poised because, MSPs are the gateway to the small and medium business, market. And as trusted advisors, they have an opportunity, I think, to really transform their customers and transform themselves to essentially become strategic business partners. And the reason I say that is because not only are they trusted advisors today, but they have the capabilities to assess their customers on where opportunities will be surfaced in terms of agentic workflow adoption. And this is an incredible opportunity. It's something that we call the Great Transformation. And what I mean by that is that unlike historical technology shifts, where you had service providers or technologists essentially pushing the new transformation down to their customer base, call it digital, you look at cloud, right? What's happening, I think, because of the agentic opportunity is a pull through is about to start.
Yeah.
Where we're going to see customers that realize the benefits of agentic workflow automation and, or find themselves in a position where they have to transform to compete. And so that'll be a pull-through model
Yeah.
for these trusted advisors who then transform themselves into becoming strategic business partners. And it won't be about device counts or endpoints or subscriptions. It'll be about business outcomes.
Yeah.
It'll be about, really understanding your customer's business and being a strategic partner to deliver performance-based outcomes
Yeah.
around efficiency and growth. And I think that is a massive opportunity for MSPs all over the globe.
So let's zoom out a little bit. Let's go a little bit higher. Let's talk about how Pax8 is helping partners navigate this future, both for themselves, right, and for, of course, their customers.
Yeah. So, Pax8, we are highly committed to this new era of managed intelligence and to what we call managed intelligence providers. We see an opportunity to continue building our superpowers, so to speak, around our marketplace, its capabilities in this new agentic world. We're committed to, really from a partner perspective, focusing as much as we can on innovating how our partners make money, save money, and reduce risk. And then the pass-through opportunity of that agentic transformation downstream to their customers so that they can participate in this great transformation. And for us, that's the superpower around enablement. It's guided growth programs and Pax8 Academy. It is, really about being the guide in opening this new world up to our 45,000 MSP partners around the globe, in showing them the opportunity. In this new world, the quickest way to fall behind is simply to stand still. And, that is not something with this kind of technology shift that anybody should be doing. So, it's really, Beyond was the largest megaphone I could find to try to get this message out. And I can tell you, Matt, that, we are committed to driving success for our partners. Their success is our success, and their future is our future. So, whether you're talking about, deep investments in innovation, in managed intelligence, to driving more community and community growth and the networking that our partners love, to, the enablement and the education that opens up opportunities and turns on lights. That's a key part of, who we are, and it's what all of our partners in the market can expect from Pax8 over the next few years.
Great. Well, I mean, obviously, we see in our own research, and I think you've kind of hit on it there, is the partners need a lot of educating, right? They're hungry for content, they're hungry for proof points, business cases, anything anybody can point to of, this will drive this outcome. And the more that yourself and the ecosystem as a whole engages in that, I think the more rapid we'll see the adoption, which of course then gives off yet more proof points. And everything else.
No question. And the thing to focus on here is not just the sense of how the value is going to change and how partners will evolve into managed intelligence providers and strategic business partners, but also the monetization model is going to change, right? So when you think about this agentic future, and you think about, agentic, automation, you're talking about enabling your customers to do a lot more with less. And the very nature of that, I think over the next few years will result in less devices, in less endpoints, more agents being the customer, the buyer, the seller even, and the operator. And so the monetization aspect of this is pretty critical. And, I think there's a lot of experimentation that's happening now. Of course, performance-based outcomes, I think, are a big opportunity during this initial transformation phase. um, per agent pricing, per workflow pricing, per action pricing. And then, of course, the consumption. Every agent that's deployed drives more cloud inference consumption. So I think, there's a lot of experimentation on the monetization model. I don't think there's just one, model that's going to rule the day. I think it'll be a combination of these. Um, but I think it's really up to the market to really start to develop some of the early wins around this. But we have to be careful. I was talking to one partner in Europe that built this incredible agent, workflow that was sold for a one-time price of $10,000, but saved the customer 1.5 million annually. So I don't know if that was the right price, to deliver that kind of value. But I think it's going to take a lot of experimentation. But the monetization aspect is something that we're very focused on. And of course, the agentic supply chain and how that's going to develop over the next couple of years.
As a CEO, could you connect me with that one person?
Yeah.
Because I'll take a 10,000 costs for a 1.5
Right.
return every day of the week.
Yeah.
So you touched on this. Let's go back into now the infrastructure and the massive investment that's going on in the ecosystem. So as you said, demand is exploding, right? Whether it's AI, edge to cloud. What are you most excited about, and how are you helping partners capitalize on that opportunity?
It's just, Matt, there's so much, and it's really, I've been in technology my entire career, and I've been through all the cycles. I helped pioneer a lot of early technologies, internet technologies, pre-internet, cyber collaboration, digital, mobile cloud. I've seen it all. I have never seen a cycle like this.
Yeah.
And the acceleration that we talked about earlier, is one thing. But to also see some of the adoption trends, specifically in terms of software infrastructure. And what I mean by that is, you think about, some of the early protocols in the internet. HTTP was created as an example to serve up documents. And then APIs came along to allow for, data transfer and in application to application integration. We're starting to see the software infrastructure to support this agentic supply chain and this agent, future, with the likes of MCP as an example, the Model Context Protocol, which was introduced by Anthropic, I think, November of last year. MCP is, simply stated, it's like the USB port. Anything can plug into it. When I mean anything, I'm really talking about AI. I'm talking about models, and what it does, or what it can do, is it can sit in front of these rigid and brittle APIs that we all know and love and we integrate into every day. And when you put an MCP server in front of these APIs, it provides the integration and the context for the models so they can interact with whatever on the other side of those APIs. And in essence, it is the enablement of these models and agents to get access to the world's software tools and infrastructure. This is how agents will, execute a plan. And MCP has already gone viral. It's supported by all of the hyperscalers. And you're starting to see this great transformation of SaaS, where they are themselves transforming to make their SaaS platforms agent friendly, so that agents, as customers, as users, can get access to the value that these SaaS platforms represent. And it's just incredible to watch the kind of viral adoption for a new protocol like this. In addition to MCP, Google in April announced the A2A protocol, or the agent to agent protocol, so that agents can discover and collaborate more seamlessly together. 3 weeks ago, Microsoft announced the NL web, or the natural language web, so that AI can interrogate, interpret, and query any website using natural language. So you're starting to see the software layers come online, which, in cooperation with the exponential of models, chips, and data centers, now you're starting to see the blueprint. You're starting to see the future agentic capabilities, and quite possibly this digital workforce, model that will come over the next few years.
So let's take that and then talk about how that's creating the opportunity to rethink the partner model, or how it's impacting the partner model. You've talked a lot in the past about reimagining what it means to be in a modern ecosystem. How do you think the partner model needs to evolve, and especially Pax8 as you're expanding globally as well as part of that journey?
Yeah, I really believe that there's a point that's coming quickly where, as a partner, it's not necessarily about managing the software anymore. It's about managing the intelligence that manages the software, or the intelligence even that manages the hardware. And so I think that that's a fundamental shift, for all the reasons we talked about, in terms of, agentic workflows, less devices, agents as customers. I think it's really conceptually important to think through that. And I don't think we have a lot of time, because I think that this shift is happening quickly. I think you're going to start to really see digital labor at rinse and repeat scale by the fall of next year. And so partners really need to dig in now and start thinking about their own transformation, because that pull from their customers, it's coming.
Yeah.
And so I urge, and I did this last week, partners of all types to really think through their strategy around AI. And it's not just generative AI, right? We're talking about true, digital labor. And so, when you start to think about what this means, though, over the next few years, you have to think about the displacement, the human displacement of, when agents enter the workforce. And I have a very optimistic view on this. I don't just believe that, knowledge workers simply disappear into the land of hobbies. I mean, I believe that this agentic future is going to create what I call the idea economy. And, it's kind of like, Matt, if you go back to like 2010, when, smartphones and the app craze was full hype, and, everybody had an idea for an app, but you couldn't build it, because all of the mobile development, firms were too busy, building out apps. Imagine, that world with no constraint.
Yeah.
Where anybody, low code, no code, can create anything. And I think that this agentic future will deliver that. And I think it will redefine what it means to be a small business. And, I like to refer to that as the idea economy, because I believe that you're going to see a massive inception of AI-powered small business over the next few years. And these are all businesses that will grow themselves with um, agents,
Yeah.
with digital workforces.
Yeah.
And it's not a far-fetched, concept to think about the one-man unicorn,
Yeah. Yeah.
or the maybe a future global brand um, that's simply a small business. And I believe in that because I think human uh, ingenuity and vision is craving the ability to paint on a new
Yeah.
canvas.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this agentic future is going to deliver. So I think for partners, I think it's how do you think about servicing this new tidal wave of opportunity which is coming, and I within that see a lot of different layers of opportunity.
Yeah.
Um, Partners, that essentially become agentic factories, that are creating agents and managing agents as digital labor for their customers, but also selling those agents back to other partners. And so I just see just a world of opportunity for both the partner ecosystem and this emerging idea economy, which I think has the possibility of just drastically expanding the SMB TAM.
Well, that's a wonderful answer and fascinating. Before I get to what is always my last question, I do want to ask you that you're a global company, global aspirations. We're working together in a lot of different parts of the world now. Are you seeing nuances or different approaches as you move around the world, or is it pretty homogenous?
Yeah, no, oh, no. I mean, there's certainly pockets of sophistication, throughout the world. In when you look at some of the evolution that we've been talking about today, you'll find different areas. I think geographic areas that uh, you know are kind of scattered in terms of the where that progression lies. Um, you know, I think what's interesting about you know what we're about to witness with this agentic future is that unlike other historical shifts, I don't think that this one is going to have the same you know lag from west to east.
Right.
I really don't. I think it's a I think it's going to hit quickly, and it's going to hit everywhere at the same time. And I actually think it's an opportunity, um, for whether you're a partner or even a small business, to kind of skip some steps in that historical evolution. And so I see, the impact of this felt globally. Um, I see it, maybe even uh, getting the adoption in SMB first, before enterprise, before large enterprise. Lack of technological debt, lack of massive data surface areas, etc. So yeah, I see from a global perspective, this kind of evenly distributed impact of the agentic future, and I think it will forego some of the historical latency that we've seen in other
Yeah.
technology cycles.
Okay. So, sir, we wrap every episode the same way. Scott, what is Pax8's path to growth?
Well, if we haven't already talked about it, uh, I think it comes down to understanding our partners, their needs, and then their customers' needs. And for us, that's all about driving the three universal truths. How do we enable our partners to make more money, save money, and reduce risk? And then also, how do we enable them to deliver those same three truths downstream to their business customers. For us, it's building the marketplace of the future, whether that be SaaS, cloud, or agents.
Okay. Well, look, Scott, thank you so much for joining us today. I like to wrap up with what I heard, right? Kind of the key bullet points. Community, the need for education, moving from MSPs to managed intelligent providers, which really means trusted advisors, right? And driving outcomes. We're seeing the SaaS tier collapse into the AI tier, which is going to give rise to the era of digital labor, digital workforce that you're expecting to see kind of this time next year or late next year. That's going to enable our customers and all businesses to do more with less. And really MSPs have moved into this era or are moving into this era of managing the intelligence, not the software or the hardware. And that's going to give rise to the idea economy. And what a wonderful time to be in our world right now. So, Scott, thank you very much. That's it for this episode of The Path to Growth. Until next time, I'm Matt Yorke. Thanks for listening.